Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my channel Tor of Spein. This discussion is about the anti-colonialist in Pushto Badala. Badala are Masnavi in Urdu or Ballad in English. So, according to Albert Memmi in his book The Colonizers and the Colonized, that the colonizers they can be classified into two categories, that is the colonizers who accept colonialism, who change their attitude in a colonized country, and this is already in some of the lectures we discussed that this is the process of formatting. That is, the colonizers they change their attitude in a colonized state after settling over there, and then there is a second category as well. That category is the colonizers who don't like to change their attitude in a colonized state. In the history, in English literature, such examples are available. They can be traced in the novels, in plays, and in the history books and in the poetry as well. In the light of this classification is for the colonizers. So, for the colonized, we can classify the colonizers into three categories. The colonizers, they are classified by Memmi into two categories. However, in the light of this categorization, we can classify the colonized into three categories. Those who believe in the non-violence or political struggle. This is first category. The second is those who struggle through weapons and violence. And the third category is those colonized who support the colonialism and the colonizers after their occupation. In Pashto literature, particularly in Pashto Badala, these categorizations they have been highlighted into Pashto Badalas, and in the light of that we can classify those heroes, those names who struggled with weapons and those who struggled with non-violence political struggle or political attitude. As I told you that folklore is an umbrella term for the learning and understanding of a community. It is in fact a prism where we enter into a world of colorful verbal tapestries, and there we can study the folk literature or the folklore of a community. Pashto folk literature or folklore or ulisi adab or awami adab. Folk means learning or understanding, and lore means the people or the individuals of a community, a society. Through the genre of folklore, Pashtuns tell the stories of their inner and outer life. That is about their social habits, belief, behavior, attitude, art, morals, dress, customs, rituals, history, struggle, ethics, and honest thoughts. Pashto folklore can be divided into two categories, that is, oral folklore and written folklore. Oral folklore genres are transferred from one generation to the next without thinking and through communication and imitation. The poets of such genres are not known, they are anonymous. Similarly, written folklore, such folk genres are properly composed by poets, that is, their poets or composers are known and they have their own literary forms. The classification or categorization of folklore, as I told you, that it is oral and written. So the oral folklore are Tapa, Kakale, Parake, Gale, Allaho, and Sande. Similarly, the written folklore, which is available in the written form to us, that is Charbeta, Badala, Loba, Misraiza or Misraiza Loba, Nimake, and Bagate. Now, coming to Badala, which is the main point of this discussion. So, Pashto Badala is a literary genre which can be compared with Urdu Masnavi and English Ballad. The literal sense of Badala is to get change or shifting in verses. They are always narrative in structure, and both Razmiya and Bazmiya styles can be composed in Badala. Basic themes in Badala are historic, tragic, romantic, ethical, religious, and patriotic. The romantic stories of Adam Khan Durkhane, Fateh Khan Rabia, Jalad Khan Mahbuba, Sher Alam Memune, and Yusuf Khan Sherbanu are some of the examples which are available in composed form. Narratives of reputes are composed in the form of Badala as well. For example, Jangnama, Shehzada Bahram and Gulandam, Alif Leila, and Hatim Tai, they are also available in the form of Badala in poetic form. Badala is also written about the lives of national heroes, therefore, it is similar in structure to English ballad. Ballad is sung with simple instruments and melodious voices. In the same way, Badala is sung with simple instruments and melodious voices. The integral parts of Badalas are the settings, various characters, characterizations, climax, anticlimax, resolution, viewpoint, and discourse. Representation in Badala. The colonized can be classified into those who believe in the non-violent struggle. The examples are Bacha Khan, Abdul Samad Khan Achakzai, Dr. Khan Sahib. Those who adopted violent struggle for liberation of their soil, their country during the colonial periods, they are Mirza Ali Khan, that is Faqir of AP, Ajab Khan Afridi, Multan Khan Afridi, Haji Sahib Torangzai, Umara Khan of Jandul, and Chamne Khan. And the third category is those who supported the colonizers. So, just as I told you in the beginning of the lecture, the colonized can be classified into three categories, that is, struggle with violence, struggle with non-violence, and those who supported colonialism or the colonizer during the colonial period. Now, representation in Badala. The study of colonial discourse is not restricted to delineating the working of power. The study of colonialism now also includes the resistance, oppositions, and revolt on the part of the colonized. Such resistance and struggle is highlighted in Badala. For instance, Bacha Khan by Taj Muhammad Khan Maman, Ajab Khan Afridi, his Badala is composed by Jamshed of Topi, district Sawabi, Multan Khan by Muhammad Nazir, Chamne Khan by Abdul Wahab Dasti. Now, this is a representation of Badala, violent struggle and non-violent struggle. So the same examples can be repeated over here again. That is Ajab Khan Afridi by Jamshed of Topi Sawabi, Multan Khan by Muhammad Nazir, Chamne Khan by Abdul Wahab Dasti, Nauroz and Ghairat by Mahmud. His Badala is available with us, and that is that it can be categorized as a violent struggle on the part of these freedom fighters. The non-violent struggle, or the example of non-violent struggle, is the Badala of Bacha Khan by Taj Mahmud Maman. Now, some of the research scholars who want to know about the theoretical framework or the theory through which we can support the struggle of the violence and non-violence. So we have the theory of Frantz Fanon with us, which is discussed in his book Black Skin, White Masks, and similarly The Wretched of the Earth. According to him, according to Frantz Fanon, colonialism is the result of violent occupation and control. Colonialism should be therefore responded with violence and armed struggle. The colonized should liberate themselves from the exploiters and from their clutches. The violent struggle against the colonizers is the major point of Frantz Fanon's theory. Now, as an example, uh, the Badala Ajab Khan Afridi can be quoted over here. Among the notable anti-colonialists, Ajab Khan is the best known hero of these stories. The Badala is opened with, "I'm telling you a story, listeners. Among the Afridis was a youth named Ajab Khan. The packed guest house sat silently Jamshed. His words rang like thunder in the skies for them. Jamshed says the brave boys are holding a jirga in their hujras and they are longing for a fight with the British." These are actually the opening lines, the translation of the opening lines of Pushto Badala, which is composed by Jamshed of Topi Sawabi. Now, as a conclusion, we can say that the themes which are accommodated in the Pashto ballad or badalas are based on patriotism, religion, liberating the soil and the community from the colonizers, brutal attitude of the colonizers, violations of cultural values of the colonized, and violation of the human rights in a colonized country or community. Now, to conclude this discussion, Pashto Badala, which is an example of folklore, and here the Pushtun poets, they discussed the struggle, the violent struggle and the non-violent struggle of their heroes during the colonial period. And now we can classify that struggle into two categories and the examples of such badalas as well. We can cite the badala of Ajab Khan Afridi as an example of the violent struggle, which can be supported with the theoretical framework, and the badala of Bacha Khan as a struggle of non-violence philosophy. In the light of this discussion, now in the following lectures, we will highlight the structure, the philosophy, and the various incidents about Ajab Khan Afridi as an example of the violent struggle and Bacha Khan as non-violent struggle. And we will keep continue this series. We will take the rest of the Badalas as well in the coming lectures. So with that, we would like to conclude this discussion here. Thank you for your kind attention.